So it gives me now great pleasure to start off the first session, Vedanta and Science, and introduce the chair for the session, Dr. Sasi Kotagiri from the MD Anderson Cancer Center in Houston, Texas. So Dr. Sasi Kumar Kotagiri is with the prestigious MD Anderson Cancer Center in Houston, Texas, working on exploring pathogenesis of non-small cell lung cancer to discover therapeutics. Previously, he received a Department of Science and Technology, or DST, National Postdoctoral Fellowship to work in the Indian Institute of Chemical Technology on developing therapeutics for diabetes. He had pursued his doctoral study at Center for Cellular and Molecular Biology, or CCMB, having received a fellowship from the Indian Council of Medical Research. So I'd like to now hand over this session to Dr. Sasi Kotagiri. Sir. Dr. Sasi, it's all yours.
Yeah. Thank you for a nice introduction. Good afternoon, everyone, to the speakers and the audience participants. So the theme of this schedule is Vedanta and Science. The first talk will be on cosmic reality by Professor Manoranjan Sinha from IIT Kharagpur, and second one the talk is on Vedantic perspective on origin of life by Dr. Harikrishna Mohanta. So coming to first talk, so I will introduce our speaker. Professor Manoranjan Sinha is a professor at IIT Kharagpur in Department of Aerospace Engineering. He received his MTech and PhD from IIT Kanpur. His PhD topic is aerospace engineering. He pursued his postdoctoral fellowship research is on neural networks at Canada. Later, he worked as assistant professor in Bliss, Pilani and IIT Mumbai in the Department of Aerospace Engineering.
Apparently, we somehow lost Dr. Sasi Kotagiri, perhaps due to a network issues. Let's see if he joins us back. Meanwhile, perhaps I could help continue with the introduction of Professor Manoranjan Sinha. Professor Sinha's research interests include neural networks, flight dynamics, and attitude dynamics, and he has contributed to over 70 research publications in these fields. He's involved with the lunar satellite orbit determination, lunar gravity, and topography modeling for Chandrayaan Mission I of ISRO, and is also working on reconfigurable flight control. He was awarded the President of India Gold Medal, Institution of Engineers India in 2013, and the Vikram Award for Systems in 2010. Professor Sinha is also interested in integrative cosmology from scientific and Vedantic perspectives and their connections to the origin of life in the cosmos. Dr. Sasi, can I just continue with the introduction? Or would you like to continue?
Yeah.
Yeah, you got disconnected, I think, due to the network.
Yeah, network, yeah. So,
okay, so please continue, yeah. Please share the slides to the last slide, please. Yeah, this was the last slide before we introduce Professor Manoranjan Sinha. We've already completed the reading, Dr. Sasi.
Yeah. So it's finished, right? Okay.
Yes.
So the final reading is done, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So now the Professor Manoranjan Sinha will speak on the topic of cosmic reality. So the talk is for 45 minutes, and later then the participants can post their questions in the chat box, so that after the talk is done, after the 45 minutes, your questions will be read. Um, so you can shoot the questions whenever you have after in the chat box, and later 45 minutes we can continue the answer session. So yeah, so now the Professor Manoranjan Sinha ji can start his talk. I'll
Okay.
stop.
So, thank you for introducing me, and thanks to Dr. Nandi also, and thanks to Dr. Sasi. So before I start, let me show just one simple video. It will be very nice, because this video is also floating on somewhere the WhatsApp. So I hope the screen is visible. So I need to share the screen. So is this screen visible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So quickly we go through this before I start. The sadhu is lying on the fire bed.
Professor Sinha, sound is not coming. I think while sharing, you have not chosen share computer sound also. That has to be checked. Or otherwise, it's coming almost to conclusion. You can explain us.
Okay. Okay, so I stopped it. It's fine. So just I wanted to show this because this is quite often viewed from the Kumbh Mela, and many sadhus from Himalaya, they descend there, they come there, and then they do the ritual before taking bath. So this was just a ritual before taking bath, sitting on the or lying on the fireplace to purify themselves. So let me start the slides. What I wanted to show. This is just a glimpse because I do not want to hinder my presentation later on. So I showed it in the beginning. So cosmic reality accepting subordination to God. So most often, once we say that we need to serve God, or we need to be subordinate to the God. So naturally, the people, they ask the first question, why we should be subordinate to the God? What is so great in him? So whether he is great or not, but the problem is on the other side, on our side. So let us go into the next lecture, next slide. So this is one book being published by Bhaktivedanta Institute regarding the humility. So what it says that in nutshell, that we do not know many things happening in the universe. Okay, Dr. T.D. Singh, the founder of Bhaktivedanta Institute, he says that there are oceans and oceans of unknown things, and the knowledge we have is very, very insignificant and very small. The qualities of humbleness and meekness lead very quickly to spiritual realization. Humility is the foundation of all other virtues. Hence, in the soul in which the virtues does not exist, there cannot be any other virtue except in mere appearance. It's a very important statement of Sant Augustine. Okay, so let us start here. And whatever I have shown right now, so we'll come to that later on. So why we should be subordinate to God? And the reason is very simple, because we are subdued by the three formidable forces which need to be eliminated, and this force arises from interaction of the mind with the three modes. Many people may not be aware of the three modes, but in Hindi we call it the Satogun, Rajogun, and Tamogun. And in English we call it the mode of goodness, mode of passion, and mode of ignorance. So these three formidable forces, there can be listed some other also, but these are the three primary ones: the ego, the lust, and the greed. So ego, the self-righteousness; powerful lust, which is a powerful enemy. This everybody knows, and I do not need to explain this. And greed, hankering for the material benefits and lording over the material nature. And in Bhagavad Gita, there is a sloka also where the Lord tells that once these desires are unsatisfied, so it manifests in anger. So anger and other things, therefore, I have not mentioned here. So it's basically a trait generated from the greed. Greed and lust, sometimes they are combined together, but the lust I have kept it separately. The two together, it's called the vasana in Sanskrit. Okay. So it's a necessary. So why we should be subordinate to God? The reason is, if we are not, we gain the good virtues only through the association of the Lord. It may not be direct physical association, but by remembering Him, by uh, showing our gratitude to Him, so we get all the good qualities. And therefore, through those good qualities, so what it happens that it takes us beyond the three modes of material nature. So the present day cosmology, what we are taught in the higher classes or the university level research and other things, it basically builds a agnostic view about the human being. It's all material origin of the life, and this creates a lot of problem. So this is what I was speaking, that where the problem lies. So this is in the mode of goodness, the mode of passion, and mode of ignorance. Our thinking gets affected by these three modes. So our mind gets directly affected by these three modes. And if we are in the lower two, then the things are not very good. Okay. So the mode of passion, initially it appears to be very pleasing, but later on it gives a lot of pain. The mode of ignorance is always painful from the beginning and toward the end also. And mode of goodness, it may be bitter in the beginning, but later on it becomes very pleasing. So, for example, you see how the modes of material nature, all these three modes, they bind us. So, United Nation, it's a constituted for peace and harmony. However, you know that how the United Nation is working. Leaders ruling are in the mode of passion and ignorance, and this leads to biases and aberration in thinking. The result is confusion and only further complexity. United Nations also promotes eating a lot of insects, meat for the protein. Okay, once the United Nations, I don't remember the name of the person, but it stated that for the protein should come from the insects. Okay, so this is directly in the mode of ignorance, as Bhagavad Gita states, and result in violent nature, intolerance, etc. And you must be aware of. So this is because if we deal with the things in the mode of ignorance, or we eat the things in mode of ignorance, so we are bound to grow like that. And it has other bad consequences also. Religious fanaticism, killing in the name of the religion. Okay, it may appear that certain sect, certain community, they are very subservient to God. Okay, but ultimately, if you see whether there the compassion is there or not, the killing is going on there or not. So that decides where they are in the mode of goodness or mode of passion or ignorance. Okay, and accordingly, the behavior gets affected. So humility is one of the greatest requirement for getting out of the three modes of material nature, which is part of the cosmic reality, or you can say this is the very basis of this cosmic reality. Okay, as the Sant Augustine says, that if humility is not there and anything appears to be humble, it may be just mere a show off. So humility is not imposing your wishes on the others, okay, not forcing others. And many other things can be told, but this is the basic part of the humility. So how to cultivate goodness? The source of all goodness is the God. Subordination to Him while abstaining from certain restricted activities leads to cultivation of the goodness. And those restricted activities, so many people, they know it, and we especially they say there is no meat eating, no illicit sex, no gambling, and we have all the four of them. No meat eating, no. This is just related to the killing. No gambling, no illicit sex, and one more is there. No, okay, it's not coming to my mind right now. So through the compassion for the other living beings, many of the problems existing in the society can be eliminated. For example, if we are maintaining big butcher houses for meat, then it directly leads to depletion of water. And many associated environmental hazards are there. And this we need not discuss all these things here in details, but this is a very basic problem. Leave the health one. Health is a different issue. So here one statement, it's by Vyasadeva. अष्टादश पुराणेषु व्यासस्य वचनं द्वयं परोपकार पुण्याय पापाय परपूर्णम्. It says that we have in the 18 Puranas, Vyas has given two main conclusions, that pestering somebody, the other being, is sinful, and helping them is a pious deed. So you can understand this. This is a Sanskrit verse. This is taught in early Sanskrit classes, and maybe 7th, 8th standard classes. Bhagavad Gita, what it has to say, that Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma na Sochati na Kanchati Sama Sarvesu Bhutesu Madhbhakti Lavate. So one who is situated on the transcendental platform, okay, at once realizes the Supreme Brahman and becomes fully joyful. He never laments or desires to have anything. He is equally disposed, it's very important, towards every living entity, In that state, he attends pure devotional service unto me. So this is about the devotional service. So devotional service one attends only when somebody is free from these three modes. And how to get out of the three modes? You have to follow the four regulative principles, and simultaneously then certain other things are recommended to be done. So and that is what that is. That is the remembering the God, being subservient to Him, and showing one's gratitude to Him for providing whatever He has. So we can see from the above statement that subordination to God generates modes of goodness which can only make the mind calm. If the mind is calm, we shall have less problems in the society. And therefore, in the Bhagavad Gita, it's also stated, Manmana bhava madbhakto matyaji mam namaskuru mam eva satyante prasijano priyashine. So he is telling to Arjuna that think of me, become my devotee, worship me, offer your homage unto me, and you will come to me without fail. And I promise you, because you are my dear friend. Another verse, this is the 18th chapter and 66th verse. Sarvdharman paritajya mamekam saranam braja aham tam sattvatyuji mokshishyami ma sutta. So if you have read Bhagavad Gita, you must be aware of all these verses. So here in this context, what I want to say that showing gratitude to the Lord and understanding His magnanimity, it's a very important. And in this context, your the cosmology it plays a very big role. Okay, one I was listening to lecture by Dr. K.D. Singh, and then at that time he stated that there is a discussion between the Maitreya Rishi and Vidura. So during that course, he is explaining about the universe, and it's stated that one who understands this universe or this cosmology, he becomes very humble in nature, because then he understands that he is insignificant in this universe. And this is very important. We should understand that we are very insignificant and God is very great. So in that context, I briefly discuss some of the universe-related issues. So the process of creation involving origin and life, origin of life and the origin of universe, obviously it's a very complex. You have seen the video about that sadhu from the Kumbh Mela. So, but in the modern science, the way we study, it's a very different. Like we have the radio telescopes. So through the optical telescope, we cannot penetrate deeper into the sky. And therefore, radio telescope has been devised. Okay. And through the radio telescope, you see many galaxies and far, far galaxies and very, what is called the massive structures of the universe. And it's shown in very colorful manner. Okay, very. So the reality is that your the radio signal that you receive, okay, and then map on the computer. So those radio signals are just in, it gives you picture in black and white. But according to the intensity, then later on it's a given the color. Okay, so many people might not be aware of that. So picturesque view of the universe which is being shown by the scientists, it's as it is appearing to be real, but it's just merely a reconstruction. Okay, and then it's a colored later on using the radio telescope data. So all these views are based on inferences. So I will come to this part again later on. So let us look into the origin of life in the universe. So the current view, it's the single cell, everything is originating, and how this single cell is coming, either it's a primordial, so it automatically it's generating, or many scientists have the opinion that this is the panspermia, means from somewhere outside of our Earth, it dropped to the Earth's surface, and from there the life originated. It's called the panspermia. And then the mutation takes place over billions of years, and then we get so many variegated life. And this is basically, this results in an agnostic view of the life. Okay. So this simply throws the question, why do we cry if the son, daughter, mother, wife, or husband dies, or either the friend dies? Why do we send the cats and dogs to any planet first and not ourselves, or send the daughters and son in the rocket? So why do we give imprisonment punishment for murder if life is just a set of molecules? It has just originated like that from the set of molecules. So there are many questions about the universe which are unknown, which are not understood. So dark matter, many scientists may claim that the dark matter is explained, but if you read the current literature, so it says that no, dark matter is not understood correctly. So for dark matter, it constitutes a greater part of this cosmos, and but there is no understanding about this. And there are so many other questions, and these questions, many of them, they appeared in the science journal long back, somewhat 120 or 125 questions were listed for that, maybe around 20 years back. So there are many unexplained questions, and we do not understand about this cosmos in any great detail, except few fancy things. So here you can see that the speed of light, just like in the while we derive the equation of relativity, so there we assume that the speed of light is independent of the relative motion of the observer. This is the basic assumption. Okay, and this was done by Michelson-Morley's experiments, in which he saw that in the two different directions of once the light speed were measured, so it was found to be the same. Okay, so but why it is the same, or you can say in more technically that why it is independent of the reference frame, this is not apparent. Okay, this cannot be explained. Subatomic particle showing wave particle duality. Why it is so? The fundamental nature you cannot explain. You can take it for granted and then you can work further. But why it is so, you cannot explain it. Quantum non-locality phenomena, it cannot be explained. So here about the dark matter, what I told that this is not understood what this is. Okay, and there are many things about this. And some people say that in some of the galaxies there are very number of heavy stars, black holes, etc., and that makes it. But the recent literature it says no, this is not so. Similarly, we have about the universe, the Big Bang. One theory or say the hypothesis is there. Theory is when we do experiment and prove it, then we call it theory. Otherwise, it's just a hypothesis. Similarly, the holographic universe, this says that the information for this universe is already embedded. Okay, so from the 2D, this comes to the 3D, whatever we visualize. Just like in the case of the protein synthesis on the body, uh, while it is being synthesized by the ribosome by using the amino acid, by taking the energy through the conversion of the ATP, but it cannot be done without the help of the DNA in the nucleus of the cell. So a robot in the factory, it is doing the manufacturing on its own because it has been programmed finally. So physical world should be regarded as made of information with energy and matter as the incidental. So
It appears that we might have
what does this mean? That the information
it appears that we might have lost Professor Sinha. Can you all hear him? I wasn't able to hear him for a while. Professor Sinha, are you there? Dr. Sasi Kotagiri?
Yeah.
Yes, can you hear me?
Okay,
Yeah,
just
yeah.
now we lost you for a while.
For how much time?
About maybe a minute.
Okay. So, okay, so I hope I have not missed much. So here, if we, what I was discussing about, that the knowledge about the universe is not concluding. And the purpose of showing the video right in the beginning was that our scientific way of approach, okay, it's a gross approach of dealing with the matter. Okay. While on the other side, uh, we have a different way of working. It's called the mental way of working. Okay, the things are actuated at the level of mind. So in that context, in one of my earlier lecture also, I mentioned that there is a book by Swami Rama, and also the book Autobiography of a Yogi. If you read this book, so it will be very much clear that whatever the scientists are saying, that is not the ultimate reality. So scientists, they work with either the direct perception or the inferences, not beyond that. So, for example, in the book by Living with the Himalayan Masters, it's written that one yogi, two yogis, okay, so they meditated on their solar plexus in front of Swami Ram, and within a fraction of time, after they started the meditation, and they were reduced to ashes, they left the body. Okay, within a fraction of time. So you can assume or you can perceive that this cannot be done even if you raise the even in the crematorium. If you say see that once the corpse is put inside the crematorium, the fire, so it takes so much of time to get reduced to the ashes. Okay. But here within a fraction of time, it's getting reduced to the ashes. So you know how this temperature is being raised for the whole body, how this is being reduced to the ashes. No, there is no explanation for this. Okay, so you're using your material, what we call the direct perception or inferential knowledge. You cannot explain all those things. This, just like this sadhu. So it's they are the regular exercise. Okay, they purify their body by lying or sitting on the fire. And just by chanting the mantras, they are safe. Nothing happens to them. So, just by considering this scientific knowledge, we become very agnostic. Okay, we become very puffed up, and our ego is raised, and then we do not care for others. Some people may care. If there is the humility is there, then they will care and they will talk like that. But if you see many of the people, many of the scientists and the way they talk, okay, so that's not a humble approach. For humility, it's a and humility automatically does not get generated also. If you are in the mode of passion and ignorance, it's not possible that the humility will get generated. So to humility to get generated, it's necessary that the person gets becomes subservient to the God. Without that, it's not possible. Because in the Bhagavad Gita also it's stated, those who are the devotees of the Lord, those who are subservient to the God, they develop 26 sublime qualities. And humility is one of them. Compassion is the other one. So there are 26 fine qualities in a subservient person who are devotees to the God. And once we say that no, our scientific knowledge is everything, so immediately we are caught in the modes of nature. So one hand, one may be showing that he is very powerful scientifically, he is very great, but if you see his acts, which he may not be doing in front of anybody, okay, so he may be doing all the nonsense. So which is very typical of the Kali Yuga. It's called the age of hypocrisy. Means what you are, you will not show in front of everybody. You will do it secretly. So this material nature is very complex, and what we think about this and what we understand from our scientific studies, it's not the real truth. So here there is a quote from Max Planck. The fundamentals and indispensable of every genuinely productive science are not based on pure logic, but rather on the metaphysical hypothesis, which no rules or logic can refute. Okay, so this is just a basic intuition. So already you have seen that certainly there are certain things beyond, and once you read the book by autobiography of a yogi and this living with the Himalayan master, you will get convinced that whatever the science you have read till today, it's a nothing in front of all of them. So few things quickly I discussed and wind it up. So in the Vedanta, basically there are three primary ways of acquiring the knowledge. It's stated. So pratyaksha, which is a direct perception, and it has got the limitation like the Brahma illusion. You know, everybody knows about it. Just in the desert, the Marichika that occurs. We see water somewhere and water is not there. Pramada, the tendency to do mistakes. Pranaptava, limitation of the senses. We cannot see beyond the world. With the lips are cheating propensity. Okay, modifying your research papers. Okay. Cheating somebody and getting cheating in the exam, and so many things are there. Okay, so these are the limitations of the pratyaksha. Because of this, the pratyaksha is not very reliable. Anumana, the inference. Okay. This is based on logic, but logic, this is based on certain.
Professor Sinha ji, 5 minutes.
Yes. No, okay.
5 more minutes.
So, okay. So in this, we have to Anumana, like seeing the charged particle in the bubble chamber and so on. But the ultimate knowledge, it's called the Sabda Praman, which is revealed by the Lord. And it's there in the Vedic literature. So you have seen already the sadhus. So where from they are getting those knowledge. Okay, so they are all learning mantras from those Vedas. Okay, it's already there. If you go to Himalayas, you will find many sadhus still there, and they are meditating. And one of them you have seen already in the Kumbh Mela that I showed you in the video right in the beginning. So this is the 3 stages of creation which is mentioned in our Vedic literature. The first is starting from Lord Krishna, and then Mahavishnu is manifested, then Garbhodakshai Vishnu, and then the Mahavishnu is also called the Karnodakshai Vishnu, Garbhodakshai Vishnu, and then the Shirodakshai Vishnu. So this knowledge, it's not available to you in the modern literature, because we just go by the perception and inferences. And these knowledge are just the Sabda Pramana, or directly it's descending from the Lord. So how this universe is created, this is also given here. This is the Pradhana, which is the unmanifested matter. And this also contains the 3 modes of material nature. But once it's activated, it's called the Prakriti. Okay. So, and Prakriti, once it's impregnated with the spiritual particles, it's called the Mahatattva. And this forms the very basis of the creation of this universe. So we have different 9 kinds of creations. It's mentioned in the Vedic literature. The ninth, the last one, it's the human being, which is it's done by the Lord Brahma. So in the human being and all the immovable trees and plants, it's done by Lord Brahma, as stated in the Vedic literature. So existence of this universe, the question arises, why the universe exists? So it's a simple thing that to bring the deluded soul on the real platform of happiness by awakening the bhakti and the devotional service. So this is bhakti or the devotional service. This is being subservient to the God and showing our gratitude to Him. Okay, and this is a very basis on which we can keep ourselves free from the 3 modes of material nature. And if we cannot keep ourselves free from the material nature, so it's bound to react somewhere or the other. Okay, if some person, we have the 4 regulative principles, and if these 4 regulative principles are not being followed, then you will see that various myriads of problems are manifesting in that person. Okay, and related family and the society and everywhere. So our society, if we have problems there existing, so it's because of these 3 modes of material nature, because we are not subservient to the God. And this cosmology, the if you read the Vedic literature, how the our existence is just a very minute, but the Lord is infinite. So it gives our real position, but still you see, we get some success, and then immediately to our mind it will come the feeling like, oh, I have become great. So this is the ego just gets generated, and it's because of the mode of passion. Okay, so many scientists, they have given their statement. So we need not go through all of them. So we have also the description of the time. If you see the absolute time, even the time we cannot comprehend in the modern science. What is the time? So because of that, many confusions are there. So the eternal time is the primal source of interaction of the 3 modes of material nature. It is unchangeable, limitless, and it works as an instrument of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So there are many layers of time mentioned in the Vedic literature. And the real time, this is measured by the this atom covering the particular atomic space, as it's mentioned in the 3rd canto of Bhagavatam. So then there is the mental time also. But we feel the passage of the time, it's the
Professor
mental.
Sinhaji,
Yes, I'm winding up.
almost done. So
Yes.
maybe in a couple of minutes we can finish.
This is the last slide.
Thank you.
So now, if you can see the time, uh, this is the picture which I quite often I show, and there are many such instances in the Vedic literature. Here, what you see on the right hand side in the blue color, the person, he is the Kakudami. And he was father of the Revati, okay, and he went to Brahmalok for the suitable groom for his daughter. Okay, but for some time he stayed in the Brahmalok, and by that time many eons passed on the earth. Okay. So here I have written this is 0.1164 billion earthly years passed by that time. So in few minutes in the Brahmalok. So the relativity exists, and it's all the things are mentioned in the Vedic literature. The mantras, as I mentioned you, it's one of the very potent tool the sadhus they use, and they meditate, and then they leave this body, and they get out of this cycle of birth and death forever. So here another picture is shown below. Lord Brahma, he stole some cowherd boys, and he did it for a fraction of time. But in the meanwhile, 1 year passed in Vrindavan, and then to Lord Brahma, Lord Krishna showed that each and every cowherd boy who were stolen, so they are all Lord Vishnu themselves. The various you can see in the on the bottom side, right hand side, the many Vishnus are there. Each and every covered boy. So this is the nature of the reality. So what I want to conclude here, that the nature of reality is very, very complex, very, very complex. And to all of you, I will say that you read the book, The Living with the Himalayan Masters and Autobiography of a Yogi. I do not say that you go and become a yogi, you stay here, but you should read so that you we become very blind by reading the scientific version of the reality to the other side. Okay, so we will get free from all those biases. Okay? And it's a very, very nicely written book, both the autobiography of a yogi and living with the Himalayan master, and a lot of information and many things you will see that how the things work. So thank you very much. If you have any question, you can ask me.
There are many questions here in the chat box, so I'll read some of them because there is a limited time.
There is in the chat box. Okay.
Yeah, I'm reading all the questions. Like one question is that recently IIT Kharagpur brought a calendar which have mentioned the rich India's research, ancient knowledge, and spiritual heritage
Yes.
was presented in the
Yes.
calendar. So,
Yes.
is it IIT Kharagpur is willing to do any research on the topics you want to know?
Already research is going on in this area. So one Professor Joyce and he is working in that area, but he works with how the various say 5,000 years 5,000 years ago the things which were found, and then it was declared that the Indian civilization it's not mm, uh, native to the India, but it has come from the other side. Okay, and for that, many scientists they give also the logic that the genetic matching is there. So, and many people were reacting to that. So, in one of the email I wrote to all those people, and thereafter nobody then again wrote anything. So the thing is that our Bhrigu Rishi, who is called the Parshurama also, he killed 27 times the erring kings. Okay. And those erring kings, many of them they fled to the different countries. Okay, so genetic dispersion already took place many lakhs of years ago. Okay, many of them were killed, and many of them they fled from India to different parts of the world. And in 20,000 years, even if I stay in a cool place for 20,000 years, my color will change. Okay, my genetics will change, my phenotype will change. Okay, so here it is to understand that the scientific version, because the modern scientists they will say that no, our Vedic literature these are just bogus. They say so because they are not aware of anything. If they read the autobiography of a yogi or living with the Himalayan master, or sometimes they visit the Himalayas and meet with the yogis, then they will understand that the reality is very, very different. It's not what they understand. Okay, and based on that, they then conclude and then make very assumption that the genetics have come from some other side, from the European countries or from other side to the India, and not from India to the other side. But the reality is that this dispersion took place long back. Okay, and while the Lord Parsuram killed many of the erring kings, and many of them then fled from India, and went to different part of the world. So,
there is a question like he's asking Adnan Saha, how is cosmology related to realization of the God? Why is it agnostic in perspective?
if cosmology is very important. As right in the beginning, I told you that being humble is the most important part in the being subservient to the God. Okay. And cosmology, if you understand the cosmology, if you know about the universe, because most of the time we are on the earth and we are just jealous with the neighbors and our some of the friends and other people in the class. If we are as a student, how he is becoming first in the class and so on. Okay. But if we look on a cosmological scale, so our existence is nothing. Okay. We are just like an atom on the cosmological scale. So therefore, if we understand our, somebody is telling?
Continue, sir.
Okay, so if we understand our existence, so automatically we will, and we understand our existence, that how small, how atomic we are, and still we so much of problem on the, we are having so much of problem on the earth. So many problems are there, okay, and we are not able to tackle. So the reason behind this is just the modes of material nature. So if we become subservient or devote to God, so automatically the good qualities will generate and will get generated within us, and it gives us relaxation from all this kind of nuisances what you see in the society. There are many things. You go outside and then you will see. I cannot mention of the nuisances which I have seen many times on while traveling on the train. So it's not good to mention here in this case. Okay.
Next question is from Akash. He's asking cosmologists and astronauts don't believe on God. So unlike you, why most of the scientists are atheist or agnostic?
They do not believe in the God because they have not met the real sadhus. If they met the real sadhus, then their perception will change because they have not seen the reality. So that is what I have shown. That the direct perception and inferences, these are the basic source of their knowledge, and that makes them proud. And also, you can say that they get deviated from the real path. Okay, so if they meet the real sadhus, not the sadhus which are watering on the streets, those sadhus you will find in Himalayas. Okay. So there are many sadhus in the streets and in India. They are not the real sadhus. Okay, so don't get swept by all those kind of things. So the real sadhus, they stay in Himalayas, and sometimes they appear in the Kumbh Mela, where they do some rituals. And the Prabhupada says that some of the sadhus are more than 400 years old, so that they cannot even lift their eyelids. So they will use their fingers to lift the eyelids and see the world. Okay, and they come just by their yogic power, they will appear there. Okay, so they cannot even move, and but they are in the Kumbh Mela. Okay, so scientists, what they say, this is their limited knowledge. Okay, so if they come to get in touch with the real sadhus, so then they will get aware of what is the real knowledge. And about the universe, you are telling, now let me tell at this stage. So about the universe, scientists are telling that it's a billions of light years in diameter. Okay, but our Vedic literature does not say so. And I can tell you what could be the reason that this is so. The thing is that the universe has 7 coverings. Okay. 7 or 8 coverings, as far as I remember. Now, those are the 5 gross elements and the 3 subtle elements. So it's a total 8. And every covering outside the universe is a 10 times the diameter of the universe. Say diameter of the universe, suppose it is 5 meters. So the first covering is 5 into 10, 50 meters. The next covering will be 10 times that, 50. It's a 500. Okay. Then the next one is 10 times that. So it increases. Now each of them, this is constituted of different matter. And if the light passes through that, so what happens to the light? If the light is coming from the rare medium to the dense medium, you will see that that object appears at a larger distance. Okay, if it is coming from a dense medium to a rare medium, it appears at a shorter distance. So if the some object is there in the rare medium, okay, and from there the light is coming and it's a changing its trajectory. So apparent position of that object will appear billions of light years away. Okay. So that thing you are just doing by certain observation. It's a, what I right in the beginning I told, it's a just inference. Okay, so your inference is never reliable. Okay. So based on that, you are concluding that the universe diameter is billions of light years in size. Okay, it may be a totally wrong thing. Okay, you are assuming the light speed remains constant, or it's a the nature of the space is the same. And how you are assuming this? Because you are doing the experiments on the Earth or the nearby Earth atmosphere. Okay, and based on that, all these conclusions are based. But what is the guarantee that the same law applies everywhere in the universe? Okay, then whatever you are concluding that's 100% wrong. Okay, so it's just another way of fooling the people and wasting the money and energy. This is what I wrote in that mail to the people once they were opposing the this calendar published by IIT Kharagpur. So the cosmologists, they are just fooling the people and earning money. You are seeing through the radio telescope and then you are painting it in color and then showing that this is the thing. Okay, where is the reality? You have not seen, you have not touched it. Okay, you are assuming that this, whatever experiments you have done in your lab, the same is applicable everywhere. Is it so? No. And that directly manifests in the behavior of our sadhus, the real sadhus who live in the Himalayas. It's a very complex, this universe is very complex. What the scientists do, many scientists can think like that, but I don't think like that because I know what is the reality. And I know also what the three modes of material nature are there and how powerful they are to subdue anybody. Okay, one may show in proper tie, coat, and everything, isn't it? Okay, but on the back, once they are alone, what they will do, nobody knows. Okay, that's the mode of material nature. It's immediately subdued by the modes of material nature. In psychology, it's stated a little differently. Okay, so any other question?
Yeah, there are many questions, but we are time constraint, so we'll be inviting the next speaker. So I think we can copy these questions and answer to them later, because there are some interesting questions are there, but time is a constraint here.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
Okay, so thank you very much for giving your time.
Thank you, Professor Sinha, for the interesting talk on cosmic reality. So now the schedule, the first schedule, that second talk is on the Vedantic perspective on origin of life by Dr. Harikrishna Mohanta, Pilani. Yeah. So Dr. Harikrishna Mohanta is an associate professor in Department of Chemical Engineering in Pilani, Rajasthan. He obtained his MTech from IIT Kharagpur and PhD from Pilani. So he's been teaching in Pilani since 1998. He's as a member, also a member of the Indian Institute of Chemical Engineering. So Dr. Mohanta's research interests include advanced processing control, process monitoring and control, sensors and microreactors, catalysis and pyrolysis, applied wavelet analysis and reactive distillation, modeling, stimulation and conscious studies. So he had published in numerous international reputed journals, and he is very keenly interested in Vedantic studies of cosmology. So I invite Dr. Harikrishna Mohanta ji to present the his talk.
Thank you, Dr. Sasi. Am I audible?
Yeah, you're audible.
Okay. So let me share.
This is for 45 minutes the talk, I will mention again, remind you just before 5 minutes. And as usual, the participant can shoot their questions to Shashi Kumar in the chat box. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Sasi, for your nice introduction. And is this slide visible? My slides are there. Are you able to see?
Visible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I'll be talking on the Vedantic perspective and the origin of life. And I dedicate this talk to my eternal spiritual master, His Holiness Bhakti Swarup Damodar Swami Maharaj. Beginning with just a simple prayer. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshurunmitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave. Okay, so before starting the Vedantic view, so just a little glimpse on the modern scientific view, how this origin takes place. The scientists claim that initially there was a huge energy mass which was extremely dense and extremely hot. And how this mass came to be, they cannot explain, but they insist that it is how it was in the beginning. So initially there was explosion, and then from explosion there was expansion, and then the various universal objects were created. Okay, so I'm not going deep into this. That's how the universe is expanding according to Big Bang theory. So here, this visualization can be confusing because it appears as if the universe is expanding into a pre-existing empty space over time. So as if there is already existing a space, but instead the expansion created and continues to create all of known space and time. So this is the modern scientific view. I am not going in detail. So there are various theories in the modern scientific views, and according to Big Bang, complex life forms on Earth, including humans, arose over a period of time from the simple bacteria-like tiny cells by a process of self-organization. Okay, it is similar to that which is also told in the Big Bang theory itself. Like there was an initial explosion, then from that explosion, so other various objects were created. So there are many theories. A number of theories are there. There are chemical evolution of theory, RNA world. So many theories are there. So that is beyond the discussion of this talk. So we'll be discussing on the Vedantic perspective what the Vedanta says, or according to the Vedic view, how the creation takes place. So in the Vedanta, so we have to know what is the Vedantic paradigm. Actually, we have to understand the 5 subject matter which are necessary to understand the Vedantic paradigm. So there are 5 subject matter: the controller, the Ishvara, Jiva, the living entity, Kala, the eternal time, and Prakriti, the material nature, and Karma. So these 5 subject matter are to be understood if we are trying to understand the Vedantic perspective. Because Ishvara, that is controller, is the cause of all causes, and there is no cause beyond him, and he is the cause of everything. So, and the time and the material nature are subservient to him, and the living entities are part and parcel of him. Okay, and the living entities are affected by the 3 modes of material nature, which are how the material nature works. So there is interaction between each and every aspect. Like there is interaction between Ishvara and Jiva, interaction between Jiva and Prakriti, and then Jiva and Karma. So like that. So this subject matter has to be understood. So before we understand the Vedantic perspective. So in Vedanta, or basically the Vedic view, first of all, a supreme controller is accepted. So that is the Ishvara. A supreme controller is accepted, and he is cause of all causes. He is cause of the whole creation. So entire spiritual and material universe is created by the Supreme Lord himself. So that is the first axiom in the Vedantic view. Okay, and so it is clearly mentioned in the Vedic literature, in Brahma Samhita also it is mentioned that who is the supreme controller. So Ishvara Parama Krishna Sachidananda Vigraha Anadi Radhi Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam. So Krishna, who is known as the Govinda, is the supreme Godhead. He has an eternal blissful spiritual body. He is the origin of all. He has no other origin, and he is the prime cause of all causes. So he's cause of all causes. So when he accept this thing, then there is, so all other things can be accepted very easily, because he, by his will, by his desire, everything happens. Okay, so now in the Vedantic view, so it is the Lord who existed before the creation, before the material creation. He is existing. So this is the first axiom to be accepted. Okay, and how he expands in this material world, and so that is there here in this diagram we can understand. So the Krishna, he expands, his first expansion as Balram, and Balram expands into Vasudeva, Mula Sankarsana, Pradyumna, Aniruddha, and then this Mula Sankarsana again expands through Narayana as Vasudeva, Mahasankarsana, Pradyumna, Aniruddha. And this Mahasankarsana, from Mahasankarsana comes the Karanodakasai Vishnu, Garbhodakasai Vishnu, and all the Brahma, the Kirodakasai Vishnu, the Shiva. So Mahasankarsana, from Mahasankarsana comes the three Purusha incarnations. They are Karanodakasai Vishnu, Garbhodakasai Vishnu, Kirodakasai Vishnu. So these three, if we understand properly, then we can understand the whole creation actually. Because all other forms, till say Mahasankarsana, they are in the spiritual world. So from Karanodakasai Vishnu, Garbhodakasai Vishnu, and Kirodakasai, they are responsible for the material world or material universe. So Garbhodakasai Vishnu, from Garbhodakasai Vishnu comes the lotus stem, and at the top the lotus flower, from whom this Brahma of that universe generated. Okay, he takes birth. Okay, and then Kirodakasai Vishnu to maintain those universes, and Lord Shiva to destroy. So these are coming from them. And from Kirodakasai Vishnu, from time to time, various avatars or the incarnations of the Lord, they takes place, come to this material world through this Kirodakasai Vishnu. These are called Lila avatars, Manantara avatars, Juga avatars, Saktavesh avatars, various avatars. There are a number of innumerable avatars like waves in the ocean. Okay, now to understand what are these three Vishnu forms, three Purusha forms or Purusha incarnation, we can see this picture here. So here Mahavishnu, who is also called as Karanodakasai Vishnu, who lies in the Karana ocean or causal ocean, and from his hair holes comes various universes. Like you are seeing the golden spheres here, the various universes come from the hair hole of this Mahavishnu. And suppose we consider one universe. So there are innumerable universes coming from Mahavishnu, and in each universe he again expands and enter as Garbhodakasai Vishnu. In each universe he is entering. Okay, so consider this particular universe. In this particular universe, he is as Garbhodakasai Vishnu, and from his navel comes the lotus flower, and the Brahma of that universe is generated from there. Okay, then Brahma does the secondary creations. First, Garbhodakasai Vishnu, so navel will come. So Brahma will do the secondary creation. Primary creations are done by the Mahavishnu himself, because Mahavishnu, he is creating the material universes from his hair holes. Okay, and he creates the elements also. The primary material elements, the 5 gross elements, 3 subtle elements, all the elements, all 24 elements or 23 elements created by Mahavishnu. Okay, this is primary creation. And secondary creation is done by in each universe by the Brahma of that particular universe. And again, in that universe, particular, consider one particular universe, there will be various planetary systems. So to keep them in orbit, to keep them moving, so he again expands, otherwise they will not sustain in their path. So to keep them in their orbit, he expands again as Kshirodakasai Vishnu and enters into each planet. And not only into the planets, he even enters and diffuses into each and every element and even to the atom. And he resides as Paramatma in every living entity. So you can see Kshirodakasai Vishnu, how he enters into all living entity. And not only to the living entity, but also to each matter and also into the atoms. Okay, Paramana, Annantarastha, Paramana, Sayantarastha. So why the creation? What is the need of the creation? There are two reasons for that. Two reasons. To fulfill the desires of the jivas to enjoy separately from him. So that's because spiritual world is already there. But the living entity who desire to enjoy separately from the Lord, so they cannot do that in the spiritual world. To fulfill that desire, the Lord has to create a secondary world, that is the material world or material universe, where they can fulfill their desires. Just like a loving father, some son, the 2-3 sons are there. So one particular son is not wanting to stay with the father, so father will take another building or something or area and ask the son to live there. So similarly, Lord provides the material world for the living entity to enjoy separately from him. Although he knows that they will be suffering, but because he does not want to force them, because by force we cannot expect love. So because Lord is very loving, so he doesn't force. He gives this chance, and he expects that one day they will understand and come back to me. So to provide this second reason is to provide a chance for the jivas to go back home, back to Godhead. That means this living entity who will come to this material world, which is also described as Dukharayam, the full of miseries, they'll come to sense that I have done a mistake by coming away from my eternal Father. So let me go back. So in this material world, that chance is again given so that he can rectify himself and go back home, back to Godhead. So this is twofold reason as that for the creation of this material world. Okay. Now to understand these 3 Purusha incarnations, there are the first Purusha incarnation, as I told you briefly, it's Karandakasai Vishnu, or he is also called as Mahavishnu. So Mahavishnu, he lies in the Kozan ocean. Okay, he lies in the Kozan ocean, and from his hair holes comes the material universe, innumerable material universes come. And these material universe, they remain for the period of each exhalation and inhalation, this period. Okay, so when he exhales, all the material universe are sent forth, and then when he inhales, all the material universe will enter into his body, and all creation is that dissolution takes place. So this is how the first Purusha incarnation, and now the second Purusha incarnation, because now the Karandakasai Vishnu or Mahavishnu has created so many universes, and in each universe, so he has to create the facility. So to create the facility, all other creations are required. So that's why he expands himself into Garbhodakasai Vishnu and enters into each and every universes. Each and every universes he enters into that. And for that particular universe, so that Brahma is generated from the lotus flower, which is sprout from his navel. So this lotus flower, which rises from the navel of that, it is actually very long, very vast, very big. So it's spread through the whole universe from bottom to the top, and each the connections, joints. So there are various planetary systems. There are 14 planetary systems in our case. So there may be different cases in different universal systems. And at the top, that Brahma Loka, so Brahma, this flower, lotus flower, so Brahma is generated. And so Brahma becomes bewildered actually. When he was generated, he could not see anybody. He could not see anybody. What is my purpose? Why I have taken birth? So he wants to find out what is the reason of my coming. Okay, so this is how the second Purusha incarnation, and now the third Purusha incarnation, as I already told you. So in each universe now, there will be various planetary systems to keep them in orbit, to keep them on orbit and moving, so that various changes will take place. Changes are required. So he enters into each and every one of them as the Kshirodakasai Vishnu, or called as Paramatma. So he enters into every living entity and to also the atoms. Okay. For material creation, Lord Krishna's plenary expansion assumes three Vishnus. The first one, Mahavishnu, creates the total material energy known as Mahattattva. Second, Garbhodakasai Vishnu enters into all the universes to create diversity in each of them. Third, the Kshirodakasai Vishnu is diffused as the all-pervading supersoul in all the universes and is known as Paramatma. He is present even within the atoms. Anyone who knows these three Vishnus can be liberated from the material entanglement. So one has to know in truth, then you will be liberated from this. So this understanding of this creation is so important that one's liberation is dependent upon that. So if one understands very scientifically in truth, then he can go back to Godhead easily. Okay, now coming to the creation, actually, there are two aspects or two phases of creation. One is called the primary creation, that is Sarga. Another is the secondary creation, called as Visarga. So primary creations that constitute the creation of the matter, these material elements, that because the elements, if elements are not there, then you cannot make the building. Just like for a building, you require cement, you require sand, you require chips, you require so many other things like rod, etc. So elements must be there. They must be supplied to the engineer. So engineer will make the secondary creation. Similarly, Lord creates the primary elements. Okay, earth, water, air, fire, ether, mind, intelligence, force, ego. So this kind of elements. And total, there are 23 elements. So he will be creating. And then he creates Brahma and gives, you take these elements and can make the secondary creation. So Brahma does the secondary creation, that is called as Visarga. Okay. So the elementary creation of 16 items of matter, namely the 5 elements: fire, water, land, air, and sky, sound, form, taste, smell, touch, and the eyes, ears, nose, tongue, skin, and mind is known as Sarga. So this will be saying, I will explain in how these phases, in phase by phase, they are being created. Whereas subsequent resultant interaction of the modes of material nature is called Visarga. So secondary creation, this is primary creation. So these are, so modes of material nature is not acting on that till now. So then when it does, it becomes secondary creation, that is Visarga, which is done by Brahmaji, Brahma of that particular universe. Okay. So now we can say that what is this material universe? We may be thinking that this material universe is very big, very vast. But in terms of the spiritual whole, spiritual world, spiritual sky, it is simply a corner. Is simply a tiny place. So if you imagine this whole thing in this picture, this is spiritual world, and it is this material world is lying in just one corner. Very this even it says that ekam sena sthito jagat. It is only 1/4 of the creation. It is just very little. Okay, so it is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita. Krishna says, but what need is there, Arjuna, for all the details knowledge? With a single fragment of myself, I forbade and support this entire universe. So this material universe is only just a fragmental part, this very small part of the whole creation. So to give the glimpse of what is the spiritual world and how the material world they are lying, actually, just a glimpse. So the above is the spiritual world. The spiritual world. This is actually, there are innumerable Vaikuntha planets. In the spiritual world also, it is not only one. There are innumerable Vaikuntha planets, and each Vaikuntha planets, Lord has different forms. Different forms is he has this Sankha Chakra Gada Padma. They are in different orders, and he has different names. So Lord Rama has one place. Lord Krishna has his Golok Vrindavan. So Lord Nrsimha has place like Govinda Vamana. All these incarnations, they have their different places in the spiritual world. Vaikuntha planets, innumerable Vaikuntha planets are there, and in there are also gradations. The topmost of them is Krishna's own abode, that is called as Golok Vrindavan. So topmost of them is Golok Vrindavan, and all other universes are planets are also existing simultaneously. Okay, so just covering that Vaikuntha planets, there is something called as Brahmajyoti, because this bodily effulgence of the Lord. So in the spiritual world, there is no need of sun or fire or electricity. Nothing is required because of the Lord is so bright. Okay, so his bodily effulgence is called as Brahmajyoti, and that Brahmajyoti, when it falls in the sun, that reflects to the material world. Okay, so Brahmajyoti is covering that, and from Brahmajyoti, so there is a dividing line of the material world and the spiritual world. Below the Brahmajyoti, we have this that Biraja river, which is the dividing line, and below that, that is called this okay, this material universe. Okay, so all the material universes are lying in that below the dividing line. And consider one particular universe. Consider one particular material universe. That particular material universe, and there the Garbhodaksha Vishnu is there, and that Garbhodaksha Vishnu makes the Brahma of that universe. So we are talking about only one universe here. There are innumerable universes here, innumerable universes. Okay, so Brahma of that universe is created, and the Brahma does the secondary creation. So that will be saying here. So Brahmajyoti comes from Krishna's effulgence, and sun reflects the Brahmajyoti in the universe. Else the universe would have been dark. So that light is reflected through the sun planet. Okay. So material energy of Maya is in one corner of the spiritual universe. That already I have shown you in the previous slide. Okay. Now how this takes place. So this takes place in a cycle actually. The creation, maintenance, and dissolution in this whole material universe takes place in a cycle. So, what is this cycle? This creation needs, there are two types, Sarga and Visarga, I told you. Creation, once it is created, it has to be maintained. So maintenance is done by Kharagpur Vishnu. So there are two aspects here, then Sthana and Posana. Okay. And Sarga, I told you already, primary creation, and Visarga is secondary creation. Similarly, maintenance are two, the Sthana and Posana. Sthana is the maintenance of the universe by the personality of Godhead, Vishnu. Vishnu's function is more important, and his glory greater than Brahma's and Lord Shiva's, because although Brahma is the creator and Lord Shiva is the destroyer, Vishnu is the maintainer. So who maintains is more important. Okay, Brahma and Shiva are just like contractors. So for creation, they are creating, and Lord Shiva is another contractor for destroying. And another aspect is Posana. Posana means a special care and protection for the devotees of the Lord. Because I told you there are twofold reason for the material universe, creation of the material universe. That is the giving the chance to the living entity to go back to Godhead. So that is done by Posana. Okay. And the dissolution, that is called Nirodha. Nirodha, that is actually withdrawing everything. So by Lord Shiva it is done. The winding up of all energies employed in the creation, such potencies are emanation from the personality of Godhead, who eternally lies in the Karan ocean. The cosmic creations manifested with his breath are again dissolved in due course. So as I told you, the Karandakasai Vishnu or Mahavishnu is so huge that whole material creation actually lie during its exhaling and inhaling period. So when he exhales, whole material creation takes place, and when it inhales, whole material creation comes into dissolution. Okay. So now coming to the technical part of this. So how this takes place? Just like we have seen this Big Bang theory, we have big vision theory. So this word was coined by my spiritual master, His Holiness Bhaktivedanta Maharaj, Dr. T.D. Singh. He called this big vision model. So this big vision model, so there is actually Pradhana and the three modes. So Pradhana constitutes the aggregate elements, namely the 5 gross elements, the 5 subtle elements, the 4 internal senses, the 5 senses of gathering knowledge, and the 5 outward organ of action are known as pradhana. So pradhana constitute this thing. And this is the reference we have given, Srimad Bhagavatam. And the condition of the material nature immediately previous to its manifestation is called pradhana. So pradhana constitutes all these things, okay, elements, material elements, okay, and all these things. So this is pradhana. And when pradhana in common three modes of material nature, that is sattvagun, rajagun, tamagun, as was explained by our Professor Sinha, so are called as prakriti. So prakriti constitutes this pradhana and three modes of material nature. And this prakriti, when, so this is in one corner of the spiritual world. So this is the prakriti, one corner of the spiritual world. And Lord, when he glances, Lord, when he glances, actually, the Karandakusai Vishnu, he glances over this prakriti. So glance refers to the time factor, actually, kala. Okay, so as soon as he glances, the time starts actually. So glances, so the living entities are injected to the prakriti. The living entities are injected. These living entities actually, because this is going on eternally. The living entities are eternally, they are not created. It is so always they are existing. So only what they go is they undergo through various cycles. So in the previous cycle, whoever has left his body based on what consciousness he has, accordingly he will be getting a body. So they lie on the body of Vishnu or Karandakusai Vishnu. When he glances, they are also casted upon the prakriti, and that is called as Mahatattva. And the Mahatattva, then ahankara or material ego comes, and then the goodness, passion, and ignorance through, so various sense organs are generated. Actually, already in the prakriti it is there. Mode of goodness, mode of ignorance, and mode of passion are there inbuilt. So now through this, when this ahankara, okay, is added with goodness, so mind and 10 indriya devatas, the demigods responsible for the senses, they are created. And then so through mode of passions, the intelligence and 10 senses are created. And through ignorance, 5 tanmatras and 5 gross elements, tanmatras sense objects, are created. So this is how it is taking place. So we'll discuss in detail maybe. So how it is starting actually? How is the starting point of this material creation? So when egoism in ignorance is agitated by the sex energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the subtle element sound is manifested. So first manifestation is sound. First manifestation is sound, and from sound comes the ethereal sky. So as the sound passes, the sky, that space also created, and the sense of hearing. Then to perceive that sound, there is a sense organ. That ear is also created. So ear is not what I am saying, my ear. This is the gross form actually. There is subtle thing which is inside this ear, which is responsible to sense that sound. So that is that is being created. So these are subtle elements. Okay. So what is pradhan? I already explained. So no need to explain again here. We can see the aggregate elements, namely the 5 gross elements, the 5 subtle elements, the 4 internal senses and 5 senses of gathering knowledge, and the 5 outward organ of action are known as pradhan. So I will be coming to that. So Mahatattva also I explained. So when living entities are casted upon, so it's called Mahatattva. Now, okay. So here the prime divine avatar lying in the spiritual causal ocean is such a great affair that in the pores of his divine form spring up the merits of seeds of this universe. So seeds of the universe, they come from the hair hole of Mahavishnu. Those series of universes are the perverted reflections of the infinite transcendental region. As long as they remain embedded in his divine form, they embody the principle of spiritual reflection having the form of golden eggs. So it is described in Brahma Samhita that initially they are like golden eggs. Okay, the spiritual seeds of Sankarsana existing in the pores of skin of Mahavishnu are born as so many golden sperms, just like sperms. Okay, golden sperms. These sperms are covered with 5 great elements. Now these sperms will be covered by what? Earth, water, air, fire, ether, the material elements it will be covering. So it is like that here. So they are covered. There are 5 layers actually here. You can see. They are covered by the 5 elements. Okay, so they grow. So they are actually and they are growing. They are starting from his pores, and they are covered by this material elements. Then they enter the material energy, because Mahavishnu is lying in the causal ocean, and at one corner is there the material sky. Then to the sky, these golden sperms or these golden eggs, they actually enter. So they enter the material energy Maya, which is on the other side of the Viraja river. So Lord is other side, that is in the spiritual. Okay, and they enter and they grow in size. So it's growing in size, So growing in size. Now, when they grow in size, but they will not be functioning, then Lord has to glance. Lord has to glance upon them. When he glances upon them, then only. So when he glances, the living entities are also casted upon them. Jivas and plops, their previous karma, whatever karma are there, accordingly they will be getting the body. And this glancing is manifested at Lord Shiva actually. Glancing is, so between the 2 eyebrows, so comes the Lord Shiva. Actually, he interacts, the Lord Shiva interacts with the material nature of the Maya. Lord does not directly interact. Krishna does not interact, or Mahavishnu does not interact directly. Rather, Lord Shiva interacts with the material energy, that is Maya. And so living entities are casted upon that. Okay. By the Lord's glance, he impregnates the material nature with the living entities. So that's what. And the personality of Sambhu, Lord Shiva, assists the Lord by transferring the jivas into the material energy. So Shiva transfers this, just like a father is transferring the seed to the womb of a mother. The Lord does not touch the material energy, nature. He does so via Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva's abode is on the edge of the Viraja river. So this is just starting of this. So below this Viraja river is the material world. Okay, that is Lord Shiva's place, Kailash. So at this point, all the golden universes are covered up by the 5 elements, and they are all clustered together. At the same time, there are 18 other inanimate elements waiting to act. Okay, so 5 plus 18, so 23. So they are not, okay, so they are just covered by 5. So other 8 also, because will come. So we'll see that how they will be generated here. So when Lord glances, this time factor starts actually. So nothing moves until the original controlling deity of each of the elements in each universe prays to Mahavishnu to help in the creation. Okay, there are presiding deity for each element. Okay, so they cannot do anything. They cannot function actually. They pray. The presiding deity of particular element, they pray. Okay, he then impregnates time into the material energy. Then Lord impregnates time, that's material time will start now. With the impregnation of time, material energy becomes Prakriti, which then transfer to Mahatattva. So this already I told you in the big vision model. Okay, and now the creation, how it takes place? There are actually 10 phases, total 10 phases. So phase 1, the creation of Mahatattva. This I already shown you in this big vision that diagram. So Mahatattva, creation of Mahatattva takes place. Then phase 2, so there is a reference I am giving from Srimad Bhagavatam, you can directly refer to that. And phase 2, so from this Mahatattva, the agitation of Mahatattva, false ego comes, this false ego. And then material activities take place. That is phase 2. So Then phase 3, creation of sense perceptions and elements. So elements will be created and sense perception will be created in phase 3. These are the references. Okay. So how this creation takes place? So as I told you, so when egoism in ignorance is agitated by the sex energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the subtle element sound is manifested. Okay, sound, first sound. Look at this diagram here, sound. Okay, sound is manifested, and from sound comes the ethereal sky and the sense of hearing. Okay, so sound, as the sound passes, so it creates space. So ether. So that ether contains sound. Okay, so here Tanmatra, these sense objects, sound, okay, creates this Mahatattva, the Mahabhuta, this gross element ether or sound, which contains the sound. And this, in due course of time, it gets transformed into second Tanmatra sense of that is called touch. And this touch, from touch comes the air that contains sound and touch. Okay, that whatever earlier is there, that will be there, plus new thing, touch. Okay, air contains both sound as well as touch. And then again it undergoes transformation to create form. And form, we get fire. So fire contains sound, touch, and form. Similarly, this again undergo transformation to get taste. So taste then generate the water. Water contains all sound, touch, form, taste. Similarly, again water undergo transformation to smell. Okay, the smell again transformed to earth. So which contains all the gross elements like earth, the sound, touch, form, taste, smell. All these things are there. Okay, so this is how it started. Now this is phase 4 now. This is phase 3 up to phase 3. Phase 4 is creation of knowledge and working capacity. So now, so these elements are there, gross elements are there now, and their tanmatras are there. Now working senses, like when the living entity has to be created, it has to have some senses. Okay, knowledge acquiring senses and working senses. So these are to be created now. These are created in subtle form. Don't understand that the gross form is created now, because living entities are not, bodies are not created till now. But the instrument, just like making a car, so parts are created separately before the car is being made. Similarly like that. It is going similarly, exactly like that. Okay. So then comes the phase 5, the creation of controlling deities, because each element, how they function. So for that there is a department, just like for different parts of the cars are there, the different departments. The brake system, one department. So gear system, another department. So departments are there. So the presiding deities are also created. So systematically, so intelligently, these are being designed, actually, control. Okay. The end mode of goodness and mind. So various posts, actually controlling deities. So now don't think that the deities are created, like Indra is created, Chandra. No, Brahma is not created till now. So don't understand that the demigods are created. Only posts are created. Posts are created. Later on, they will be created and they will occupy the post. Now, in phase 6, creation of ignorance of darkness, that avidya is created, because this is the most important thing for the Lord to function, make the living entity function in the material world. Unless they are covered by avidya, they cannot actually stay happily here. Because otherwise they will have knowledge of the spiritual world and they cannot remain here. So they are covered by avidya. So avidya is created in phase 6, which is actually, therefore, after that Brahma will be created. After phase 6, Brahma is created, and Brahma also comes into avidya, ignorance. But Lord is above that. Lord never comes under avidya at any moment of time, any point of time. Okay, now here I will give you that phase 4, how it takes place. So already I have explained sound, and from sound comes ether, and now corresponding ear, the Jnanendriya. So to perceive sound, we have ear. Okay. Similar to perceive touch, we have skin. To perceive form, we have eyes. To perceive taste, we have tongue. To perceive smell, we have nose. So these elements, the senses are created. Actually, the subtle elements are created. Okay, these are called knowledge acquiring senses. And similarly, working senses are the hands, legs, mouth, genital, anus. These are also created. Okay, and then now, then in next, yes.
5 more minutes.
Yes, 5 minutes in there, sir. Yes, I'll be covering. Yes, I'll be completing. And now, to take care of each and every element, there is corresponding post are there, or devatas are in the in charges. For ear, there is Dig Devatas. For skin, there is Vayu Devata. For eyes, there is Surya. Tongue, it is Varuna. Nose, it is Ashwin Kumara. Similarly, hands, Indra. Legs, Upendra. Mouth, Agni. Then Prajapati, genitals, and Mitra, Janus. So these are the post created. Okay. And already I have explained about time. Okay. Matter doesn't increase or decrease unless it is spiritually touched. So matter is a product of spirit and increases only by the touch of spirit. So this is what the nothing can move if the spirit is not there. The entire cosmic manifestation has not assumed its gigantic form by itself. Okay, as wrongly calculated by less intelligent person, as long as spirit is within matter. Matter can increase as needed, but without the spirit, matter stops increasing. Okay, so Garbhodaka Sai lies on the Sesa on the Garbhodaka ocean, which fills half of the universe. With him, he brings the Mahatattva and the Jivas into the golden universe. Already explained this thing. And so now coming, when the desires of the living entities are strong, because they are casted into the material, Prakriti. Okay, the Lord sprouts a golden lotus from his navel, and the firstborn Brahma is brought into the universe. The lotus is said to be the reservoir of all living entities within this universe. Okay, so Brahma is created, and when Brahma appeared from the lotus, he was bewildered at first. He ventured around and became afraid. Okay, he heard a voice instructing him to perform tapasya. So he performed tapasya for some 216 crore some years. The Lord then reveals himself in Brahma's heart, and he gave them the knowledge and also the Gayatri Mantra. Thereafter, Brahma started the creation of many other elements, such as well as the upper, middle, and lower planetary systems and living entities, bodies. So Brahma makes the secondary creation now. The planetary systems and the bodies for the living entities, like that. He creates his mental sons, the Manasputra, and then tells them to populate the universe. The Manasputra is like 4 Kumaraj. Okay. So he also gives them all the Vedas. He taught them the Vedic knowledge. Whatever he received from the Lord, he gave that. So that comes in the Parampara. Now, so Brahma is created and Brahma creates now. So now the secondary creation, this is called Visarga. The page 7, 8, 9, and 10, these are Visargas. So creation of immovable entities like creepers, plants, etc. This is in page 7 takes place. Okay, this is done by Brahma. Page 8, that is creation of lower species of life, animals, birds, etc. And then creation of human beings, page 9. And then the creation of demigods and other living entities. So this is page 10. Okay, so that includes the demigods, the Pitris, Asuras, Gandharvas, Jakhya, Rakshasas, Siddha, Charana, Vajradra, all the various living entities, Bhutas, Pretas, Pisachas, superhuman beings, etc. All. So this is the 10-page creation. Okay. And Lord Brahma lives for 311 trillion, 40 billion years. At the end of his life, the entire creation of the universe are destroyed by the Rudraj, the Lord Shiva, as I told you. This is called total annihilation. And total annihilation takes place. Everything becomes dissolved, gone. Okay. So Lord again lies. The universe then are all absorbed back into the Mahavishnu until the Lord decides to start the creation again. So everything dissolved. So when he exhales, inhales, everything is dissolved. Okay. So this is the spiritual world, material world again. And okay, this is the Vedantic view. Also in the Christian and Islamic view, also the same similar concept is there. Okay. So God created the universe, human beings, plants, oceans, and rivers in 6 days. They said 6 days. All the plants and animals were created at once. All the living organisms were created in the same form as they exist today. So it is not that one form is becoming another form. It's not like that, as Darwin says. So it is not accepted by any other religious concept also. Okay. So thank you so much for your time. I think exactly I'm finished.
Thank you for an interesting talk. And we have questions here. So
okay, you can go on.
yeah. Yeah, one of the question is, can you prove that Krishna is Supreme Personality of Godhead with respect to other religions?
Yes. So in Christianity, they call Jesus Christ as the Son of God. So that means Son of God, there is a Father, Supreme Father. So Christ, so actually it's Christ is Latin, so Christos. Originally means Christus. That Christus, actually Krishna in India also, in Odisha they call Krishna, in Maharashtra Krishna, or some other place, different place. So originally it is Krishna, it become Christus, that's become Christ. So it is like that. See, only Krishna actually, original personality of Godhead. Okay. So in different religious scriptures, he is also mentioned. They say also only one God. So here also it's a Isara Parama Krishna Sachidananda Vigraha. Anadir Adi Govinda Sarva Karana Karana. Adi Govinda, only one. Adi Govinda, first Govinda. Yes.
Next question is there a special significance behind the name? Does that have to do something with the time factor separating the cause and the effect? The causal version being the avenue for separating the cause and effect?
Causal version, Karan Sagar. What is the significance of the name you are saying? Because that is so. Yeah. So Mahavishnu resides there in his cause of the material universe. Mahavishnu is the cause of the material universe. Okay. From his hair also comes the material. So he's the cause of material universe. That's the causal ocean, Karan Sagar, Karan. So he's the cause. So that's why the name.
So next question is, why did we leave Krishna in the first place? If Krishna is bliss personified, why did we feel that we need to leave Krishna and enjoy for ourselves? Do this mean that we can fall down again from Golok if one managed to reach there? That's the question. So
we never fall in from Vaikuntha. As a living integer is eternally they are actually eternally conditioned souls. So eternally conditioned souls, the living entities, once they go back to the spiritual world, they never come back again. Okay. So just like the mistake is done. So once the mistake is understood, you will not do the mistake again. That kind of thing. So because the living entity, so he misuses his free will. So that is another concept in Vedic understanding is the free will, concept of free will. If we are not taking free will into account, we cannot understand actually Vedic theory. So each and every living entity is given its free will. Now it is up to him whether he will live along with the Lord or he is attracted by the material energy. Just like the insects in the rainy season, if you see, if you light a bulb outside, the insects will go and dash on this that fire, dash on and kill themselves. Similarly, the living entities may be attracted by this Maya and try to enjoy separately from Krishna, because so they may think that there is something better enjoyment. That is the misuse of free will. All living entities are given this free will, so they misuse it. So it is up to them whether they use properly or they misuse it.
So the next one is that, thank you, Dr. Is like Vasudev Rao from Bhaktivedanta Institute. Thank you for excellent presentation with a great clarity. Best presentation so far I have heard on Vedic process and the phases of creation.
Thank you, Samaji. Thank you so much.
And someone asking for the slides. That's not okay. But
yeah, no problem. They can email me. My email address I have given in that.
Okay. So please mail.
Or else you can go to BITS Pilani and Department of Chemical Engineering. My email address is there.
And Adnan Saha, my question is, how is Vishnu related to Shakti, the feminine nature, Adi Parashakti? How is Vishnu related to Shakti? The question is.
Yes. So Lord's energy, Shakti is Lord's energy only. Okay. So Krishna, okay, he's on so he's only one. Then he expands as Radharani, and from Radharani all other Shaktis, this all the Lakshmis and even the Durgas are also everything. So internal potency, the internal energy is taken care of by Radharani, and external energy, then Maya is taken care of by Durga Devi. So these are two energies of the Lord. So they do not, one is called Yogamaya, one is called Mahamaya. So they don't act independently. They act according to the desire of the Lord. Srushti Sthiti Pralaya Sadhana Sakti Reka Chayava Jasya Bhuvanani Vibharti Durga Ichhan Rupam Api Jasya Cheshtadisa. By whose desire she functions, Durga. Govinda Mahadipurusham Tamam Bhajan. So this is Brahma Samhita, that is there clearly. So Vedic literature is so clear actually, there is no confusion. Because we are not getting the right sources, we are confused. So Indian peoples are more confused than any other persons.
So the next question is how Vedanta linked to elementary particles?
So that's what it is started now. So how the sound? So sound, so all the elements, all 23 plus 1, so 24 elements are related. So all this creation, everything is taking place. All can be explained here. So this is how it is Vedanta. Vedanta.
I think they are referring to the elements in chemistry.
Acha. Oh.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So elements in chemistry. This is earth, water, air, fire, ether. So only this whatever solid is there. The earth. So you can divide into 108 or whatever number, 118 or whatever in the periodic table. So these are further. So it is inclusive. It's included. So when you call it earth, so it contains all the elements, the modern elements, modern material elements.
The question is next one, why there is so much contradiction in all scriptures?
There is no contradiction. Actually, the followers, they don't know how to, they don't understand properly, because the objective of each religion is to love the Lord, love of Godhead. And that is mentioned. And because of the spirituality is same. Okay, the rituals may different. Rituals may be different, but spirituality is to love God, okay, and serve God. That is the spirituality. Okay, that is the essence of all religion. And when you don't know that, I am loving Lord in this way, and others should also love the Lord in this way only. It's not possible. Everybody has their own likes and dislikes. So, but ultimately he is loving God, na? So why you think that you force others to love in your way? Okay, so Lord has given freedom. The Lord has given us free will, but you force me to do your way. What is this? So this is misunderstanding actually. This is misunderstanding of not properly understanding Lord. If you are loving God, so if somebody else is loving my God, let him do in his way, but he's loving my God only, but let me also respect him. Okay, so conflict is there because of immature understanding of the scriptures.
And then one question is, when the Lord is the reason behind creation of the life, what's the reason behind creating asuras and other evils also?
So you cannot taste the good if the bad is not there. So, because this is relative world, material world is relative. So understand the good. So you have some bad thing must be there. Then only you can appreciate the good.
And are Narayana and Vishnu same, or the name is different?
Same.
Why selfishness attacked us in Golok Vrindavan is the question.
This is a much debatable question, and so the selfish. Actually, I told you, Dr. T.D. Singh actually he told many times. We also asked him, and that is there a living entity coming falling from the Vaikuntha? He said no. The living entities, because they are eternally. So you have to understand Anadi and Ananta. Anadi. So this eternal Sanatana means it is Anadi. So living entities are Anadi Sanatana. They are not Ananta Sanatana. That means they are beginningless. But one day they will go back to Godhead. If they are conditioned for eternity, then there is no chance to go back to Godhead. So they are eternally there in this material world and maximum what we are going during dissolution, where we are going, we are staying in the body of Mahavishnu. And Mahavishnu is where? Just above the material world, just above the material world. There is this Biraja, and above that the Mahavishnu. Okay, we are staying there, not entering exactly to Golok Vrindavan. We are not there in the Golok Vrindavan. We are there in the Mahavishnu's body only. So from there, based on our previous dissolution, what consciousness were there in the time of dissolution, we are given a body according to our karma, deeds and desires. We are getting. So we are not falling from the Vaikuntha, so to say.
Final question, why do we need to love or serve God?
Yes, love and serve God both. So
Why?
love has no meaning without serving. Service, love means service actually. If we don't serve, then love has no meaning. If I say I love you, but I don't do anything for you, then how long it will last? It will not last. So service must be there.
But why? Why do we need to? The question is.
Okay, because that is a good question. This is a very interesting question. Because our Swarupa is that we are eternal servant of God. And Lord is the complete enjoyer. This is always the enjoyer. We are enjoyed. Our eternal function is to serve him. So that is our eternal function. So service is such a thing which cannot be taken away from the living entity. Just like dharma of fire is heat and light. If you take heat and light from fire, fire has no meaning. If you take sweetness from sugar, sugar has no meaning. Okay. Similarly, if you take away the service attitude or service from the living entity has no meaning, because it can do only serving. So all other things are secondary. So if you don't serve your family, you serve your nation. So everybody is serving. You are serving your family, your nation, your say prime minister is serving his the countrymen. Okay, president is serving. So everybody is serving. Who is not serving? You tell me. So that means service is eternal. If you are not serving God, we have to serve somebody else. That's all. But service cannot be taken away. So service has to be there, and that service is for developing love. Actually, it is just like mother develops love for the child by service only. She does so much service from the pregnancy time onwards. She thinks so. She does something, and then she's so much service she does. Then she develops love. Similarly, by service, we can develop love, and that is the ultimate objective of all the religions: love of Godhead. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, I think we taken the time like in full, and very interesting question. There are so many of them are there still in the previous.
Okay, you can forward me. If possible,
yeah.
I can answer.
Yeah, I think maybe after all the sessions done, the interested people can whoever pose the questions, it can be answered. I don't know how I left for the convener to look after.
Yeah, they can forward me. Actually, my email address is there with them.
Yeah.
Yes.
So yeah, their names and their questions are there, so it can be answered that way.
Yes, yes.
Because very interesting questions, and time is limited.
Yes, we are in limited time.
Thanks for like a nice, interesting talk of a detailed description of all the creation and everything.
Thank you for so much, so many nice questions asked by the audience.
Yeah, I appreciate the audience also. There are so many questions which I never had before. Like, so appreciations for them also, and Yeah. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, sir. Thanks. Thank you. Sir.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Chair, for chairing this session, Dr. Sasi Kotagiri, and thank you to both of the speakers for this wonderful session.